Man, this one really hit hard this week.
Yeah.
Michelle Trachtenberg gone way too soon at just 39 years old.
I know. I was shocked when I heard the news.
I'm betting a lot of our listeners are feeling this one too,
Yeah.
especially those of us who, kind of came of age watching her on screen.
Yeah, absolutely.
She had this presence,
She did.
like she was able to play these characters that were witty and smart and sometimes a little dark.
Yeah, a little edgy sometimes.
Yeah, but always captivating, always drew you in.
Always captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah, her range was incredible. When you think about it, she was able to play those complex characters over, you know, decades and in different genres. Like, it's really something.
Yeah, so before we get too far,
Yeah.
I think for anyone who's maybe not as familiar with her work, we should take a second to kind of introduce her properly.
Yeah, for sure.
Not just like a laundry list of roles,
Yeah.
but really, highlight what made her so special.
Exactly.
So, okay, let's unpack what we know about her passing. What do we have to go on here?
Well, so the news reports are saying that the NYPD confirmed her death in her Manhattan apartment early Wednesday morning, February 26th.
Right.
And they're suspecting natural causes, and they've said no foul play is suspected at this time. But of course, the official cause of death is still pending.
Right. And one detail that really stuck out to me from the reports, and I'm sure a lot of listeners noticed this too, was the mention of a recent liver transplant.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which, just adds a whole other layer to this, doesn't it?
It does. It's, liver transplants, they're obviously life-saving procedures, but they also come with some inherent risks.
Right.
Things like infection and organ rejections. Those are major concerns for transplant recipients,
Yeah.
especially in that first year after the surgery.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And, even putting those aside, the procedure itself, it's incredibly taxing on the body, no matter how old you are.
Yeah, that just makes this whole thing even more heartbreaking.
Right.
Knowing that she'd already overcome so much.
Yeah, it's really tragic.
It makes you wonder if there could be a connection there, right? Between the transplant and her passing at such a young age.
It's certainly possible. I mean, while we don't have the specific details yet, I'm sure the medical examiners are looking into her full medical history,
Right.
Including the transplant and any complications she may have experienced. When they're determining the cause of death, they have to consider everything.
It's a lot to process,
Mm-hmm.
especially because, like we were saying, she was so young. When you think about common causes of death at 39, you think about, I don't know, accidents or maybe some types of cancer, but a transplant just throws a whole other wrench in the equation.
Absolutely. You're right. I mean, statistically speaking, for someone in her age group, you're looking at things like accidents, certain cancers, heart disease. Those are the usual suspects. But for transplant recipients, that risk profile changes significantly.
Mm-hmm.
You have to factor in the possibility of complications that are directly linked to the transplant. And then there's the fact that they're on immunosuppressant medications, which makes them much more vulnerable to infections. So it's a whole different ballgame.
Right. It really puts her whole journey in a new light, doesn't it?
It does.
It just makes you appreciate her strength and resilience even more.
Yeah, for sure.
And speaking of her journey, I think it's time we talk about her career. Dive into some of the roles that made her such a star.
Definitely. Let's do that.
So for those who might not be as familiar with her work, think back to Harriet the Spy. Like, she completely owned that role.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was a pretty big deal for a young actor to carry a film like that.
It really was, Not every child actor can handle that level of pressure and responsibility and, be able to pull it off. But she did.
Yeah, she nailed it.
And then to transition successfully to more adult roles as she got older and not get typecast, that's a whole other hurdle that she managed to clear.
It's funny you should mention typecasting, because that's something she really managed to avoid.
Yes, she did.
Think about the range from Harriet the Spy to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big leap.
It is.
Going from that kind of spunky kid detective to playing Dawn Summers, Buffy's younger sister who's dealing with some really heavy stuff.
Right, and dealing with it all in the Buffyverse.
Exactly. That's a whole different world.
And then you've got Georgina Sparks in Gossip Girl, which is like a complete 180 from Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she was the ultimate schemer.
She was.
The character you love to hate.
Totally.
But, that's what makes her such a great actress.
Right, she could play it all.
Exactly.
And that's what makes this whole thing even more tragic,
Yeah.
We're left wondering what amazing roles she might have taken on next, what characters she might have brought to life.
I know. It's hard not to think about that.
Is there any role that comes to mind for you, like something you think she would have just been incredible in?
Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, She had such range, I could see her tackling a complex historical figure, maybe even going the dark comedy route, something
Right.
really different.
Right.
But she would have nailed it, whatever she chose.
No doubt about it. I mean, her talent was just undeniable.
Absolutely.
And this whole situation, it's a stark reminder of just how fragile life is.
It is.
But it's also, a reminder of the importance of organ donation.
That's a good point.
Michelle's story.
Yeah.
It might inspire someone out there to consider becoming a donor themselves and potentially save another life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a powerful legacy to consider. And it underscores the need for us to have more open conversations about organ donation and the impact it can have.
Couldn't agree more. It's a conversation worth having for sure.
It is.
And for everyone listening, I really encourage you to go back and watch one of Michelle's performances this week. Whether it's a film you've seen 100 times or something you've never seen before, you'll not only be entertained, but you'll also get a fresh perspective on her skill and her dedication and the incredible legacy she leaves behind.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Michelle Trachtenberg may be gone too soon, but her work will continue to inspire and captivate audiences for generations to come.
I think that's a perfect way to put it.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.